I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up, then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Gabe and Lexi. Today we had Brian, the Mac Man of Sell Your Mac and Other World Computing, the most trusted and highest independently rated Apple trading company. Sell Your Mac has paid out over $66 million and has helped over 100,000 customers. Brian is super passionate about empowering underprivileged students through the Apple gifting technology and believes in gifting them a Mac can truly change their lives, their outlook on the world, and their future job prospects. As a lifelong learner, Brian is a 2X TEDx talk speaker, has become a sommelier, a certified Mac technician, a notary, an ordained minister, and a certified scuba diver. And now he's a professional speaker on LinkedIn optimization and has grown his network to over 215,000 followers. Brian, welcome to the show. Listen, you're the Mac Man, so you're behind Sell Your Mac, OWC. Collectively, you're the most trusted Apple trading platform on the planet. And you've collected 66 million right now in payouts and over 100,000 customers. It's unbelievable. I keep watching.
We're buying thousands of Macs, man. I love it. As many alley-oops as you're doing, I'm stuffing those Macs right in too.
I know. And so I got to understand, what's your origin story? How did you get so passionate about what you do and how you do it?
I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, and I started off selling stuff on the sidewalk when I was 10 years old. So my history is sales. I've been selling jewelry and trinkets when I was a little kid, all the way up to doing car parts and stocks in high school. But then in college, I got into flipping phones. And I was going around all these sororities and fraternities, and they didn't know what to do with their old phones. I'd buy them up, for $5, $10 a piece and sell them for 80 to $100 on eBay. And I really started growing my eBay following on there. So when I got out of college, I was looking for a finance job that didn't land immediately. And I just grew the eBay business. So it wasn't focused on Apple on day one. No, this is pre-iPhone. So this is 2006. Okay. But then the iPhone launched in 2008 and it changed everything. So that's when I pivoted to focus all on Apple. And I've been an Apple fanboy my entire life. So it was a perfect fit for me. I know you're obsessed with Apple as well. Yeah. You're using all your Apple gear. Yep. And I can't imagine using anything else. So if you tried to send me a PC back then, I would just throw it in a recycling Gaylord over my head. I want nothing to do with it. So I heavily focused on Apple. That's what I'm passionate about. And when you're passionate about something, you can do so much better with it. And you bring people around you to your team that also have that shared passion. So we kind of grew that Apple following together. And I think people saw that not only was I passionate about Apple products, as I could, price them correctly and deliver better value than some companies that kind of spread themselves too thin. So that focus really helped me when it's kind of, pricing, recruiting, and, showcasing what we did to the world.
That's awesome. And what you're doing is awesome. I love it. You've built a business that combines hardware, services, and now social impact. What did you learn early on about resilience and reinvention?
Resiliency is necessary as an entrepreneur. We would have folded many times if it wasn't for that resilience and grit to push through. And it takes going above and beyond. I mean, I'm sure, Gabe, running your business, there's lots of, sleepless nights and time you have to put in well above any, 9 to 5 schedule. So kind of throw that 9 to 5 out the window. You have to have that resilience to keep going day after day, even when there's bad days, bad months. I mean, sometimes employees don't understand that the owner actually didn't make money that month and they lost money. So it can be very hard to run a business, and you have to have that end goal in mind. So I always, knew I wanted to, build a great Apple trade-in company, and I had to push through those months and days, which were extremely difficult, and had lots of lows along the way. And I've shared some of those stories in the past. They've been tough, but you focus on the end goal, and you can keep persevering.
Yeah, let's double down though, because you're absolutely right. The stressful nights, the times when you didn't make money, and everyone else, is obviously getting paid for you as the owner. And so this is two hard things. That's our show. People want to be like you one day. And so, what is it that during those low times at the beginning stages and the early stages, what did that teach you, and how did you push through? Like, what was the educational moment for you? So the audience can hear that.
I had to have the conviction in what I was doing, and I wasn't willing to pick plan B. My plan A was to be successful and to grow the company to an 8-figure business, and anything less wasn't an option. So I could have, taken the easy way out and, folded my company and gone and got a normal job, but I wasn't willing to let that happen. So in the back of my mind, there wasn't any giving up. So it was just, what can I do to make it a success? So even when we, got scammed and lost a ton of money, or we got kicked out of our place of business at one point, it was crazy. We're operating out of my basement at my first house, and I had 5 employees working there. And there's some law in the town which I wasn't aware of that says you only can have 1 employee working out of your house. So one of my neighbors just complained, and I got a cease and desist, and I had 14 days to move the business. So it's trying to find a warehouse and get it set up and operating in 14 days was insane, and we actually pulled it off. So it's that type of mentality that you can't stop. So if something gets thrown in your face, you just figure it out. And there always is a way forward. You have to be willing to put the time and the energy in, and make the connection. So it's like when that comes up, I'm like, all right, who's in my Rolodex that might have property? Okay, I reach out to a couple different people that are, in real estate, and then they make another connection for me. And by the end of the day, I already had a place to go look at. So it's just not putting your head down and, feeling sorry for yourself. It's forging ahead and, finding that path forward.
Awesome. There are many listening, like myself, trying to grow in their career, and you've become a professional speaker on LinkedIn, ChatGPT. How has that approach helped you grow and create more opportunities?
Somewhat is just like a outlet for me to be creative. So I love just going outside my normal comfort zone, and I'm a lifelong learner. I just literally can't stop. But those also do create lots of networking opportunities. So I can be talking to someone about ChatGPT, and then they also have a bunch of Macs in their business that they want to sell. And it's very authentic that I'm not, pushing them to work for my other businesses, but they learn about me through my speaking. And I've gotten a ton of opportunities just going around and talking to the Visage business groups, which I mainly speak at for ChatGPT and LinkedIn. And then I tell them about who I am and what else I do. I have like a, get to know Brian slide and all these crazy things I do in my life. So they learn about me, and, they see me in the blue suit, so they remember me.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because building a company with Cellular Mac, you did it from scratch, but it's not just technology, it's really trust. That's what I think about when I think of you. You're magnetic.
I appreciate that.
You're instant, like you have like instant rapport and trust. Obviously you got the blue suit, you got the branding. We're going to talk about content in a bit, but my big question is, how do you create that credibility, right? Especially when you're in that beginning stages where it may not be easy to trust a business that just got started, right? But you've been able to do
Yes.
right from day one, in my opinion. And then, of course, scale that to the tune of you still are very trustworthy in the face of the business. and you're still very approachable and you can get to you, but you have such a big business behind you. How do you keep trust in the beginning and then also through the end stages when you start getting really, really big?
Initially, it was having insanely fast response time. So, like back when I was doing the eBay business, it was me answering the customer service, and I would like wake up in the middle of the night and answer customer service. So, like, it would hardly even be like a 2 hour gap, even in the AM, that I wasn't getting a response in. And then during normal business hours, my wife would get mad at me to be at a nice dinner, and I'd be banging away customer service on eBay, and I wouldn't let my brain turn it off, and that created 100% positive feedback. Because if there was a problem, I took care of it instantly. I'd go above and beyond. I'd refund them or whatever I needed to do just to make it right. And ultimately, that kind of got any negative feedback to go away. I mean, people can't be mad if they get a full refund. So sometimes you just have to go above and beyond. And, it's kind of the cost of doing business. That one negative could have cost me more than $100 refund I had to give. So I would rather just send that refund and avoid that. And then, going forward, you have to ask for reviews. I mean, have a follow-up system. I mean, we have, emails that go out. I think it's like after like 10 days or so after their transaction, it says, please leave us a positive review if they haven't left one already. And, put that link there, make it easy. Like people don't usually go above and beyond to leave positive feedback. It takes time out of their day. We have to respect people's time. So give them the tools to then help you build your own trust. And then, other things I do is I put myself out there. I'm willing to have those conversations. If there's any problem going on, I would reach out to the customer directly and, interface with them. So even when I was no longer the customer service person, that my team would know if there was like a really big problem, they'd like tap me, be like, Brian, can you call this person? Like, we can't get it done. And I would just call and make it right.
Right.
And I virtually 100% success rate. And it's about, meeting them with, what do they need to hear? It's not about, you. It's like, they're something going on in their life. Help them through it, give them time to talk about it. And maybe the transaction was only a small part of what they had going on. You give them 10, 15 minutes on the phone, usually can get through to them, human to human. So
Awesome.
that's my sauce.
And LinkedIn is a great place for people to share their story, their brand, themselves, so much other things. And you've grown your business. How do you keep that alignment across brand, business goals, and your personal mission on LinkedIn and your podcast?
I would say in LinkedIn, I don't always want to share about my business. Maybe 10% of the time or so. And really, it's one thing people do wrong is they talk so much about their business and people want to know about them as a human. So I think, showcase everything you do. So like you said, it's business, my podcast, anything I'm working on, anything I'm learning. I love sharing about stuff like that. And people try to find like inspirational, moments, on LinkedIn. So they post stuff about, inspirational things and try to make it about the audience, not about yourself. If you have something great that happened in your business, try to draw out something great that happened with your audience at the same time to kind of, make sure they can be engaged. So it's really about being, a well-rounded person, keeping engagement with the audience and not just forcing your business on them, bring them into your business.
Yeah, let's double down on LinkedIn because you're a LinkedIn expert. Let's just be super clear. We paid you to come into our company and train our team how to use LinkedIn, and
That was fun.
amazing training. But it wasn't your first time. You've done this countless times, right? That you're a LinkedIn guru trainer. You have over 214,000 followers as of today. Probably be more by the time this thing goes live. So you speak about optimism, you speak about scalability, you speak about business, you speak about personal. Like, just give us, your 2 minute TED talk about how you're able to create a personal and business brand on LinkedIn and do it with such force to attract that many amount of people on a platform that's a significant number compared to other social platforms, right?
All right, let's throw out some good tips for everyone here. Okay, first off, you're a headline. So for people in your industry, saying SDR in the title means nothing. No one cares. I don't even know what that means if I didn't know who you are. So tell people about you. Make it unique, personable, actionable, fun. So, my headline says, I bought $66 million of Apple devices. Can I buy your device? So it's a big number. It's unique. People see it. They might be impressed or just curious and kind of click to learn more. And so also then they get to your profile, make sure that your header photo, the cover photo, tells people about your business and what you do. Don't make it generic and just a picture of your city background or something that means absolutely nothing. It's like a billboard. So use the billboard to sell once they're there. Next thing is put where you can talk about your name, make that voice note, make it sell as well. So say your name and then give a little elevator pitch. And then down in your about section, make sure it's in the first person. I see the most common mistake. People have some generic kind of third person. You should be talking to your audience, not talking at them, and make it interesting. Like make it easy to read and also mention things that are about you. And that's what you mentioned about being personable. Like I mentioned that, I'm into wine, I'm a sommelier, I do public speaking, I like gifting Macs, and people can identify, with something in there, hopefully, that would then make them want to connect with me. And when you take your profile picture, people use these terrible pictures, make it have a fun, bright background, make it really pop. It needs to showcase itself so people actually see you when you're commenting. So they'll see your picture, they'll see your fun headline, and then hopefully they're going to click to, learn more about you. And you have to be very engaging on LinkedIn. Like if you're just sitting back and hoping your prospects are going to come to you, frankly, they're not. You need to be engaging on top influencers' posts. And that's how I started growing my following back in the day. Is I basically made friends with a lot of these top influencers, and they would engage back with me, that law of reciprocity, and that would help my content take off. So by engaging more people are going to come to your content, and then your content's going to be better, and see my more people around the world.
Amazing. Great tips. Gonna use those for myself as well.
There you go.
And you clearly have a lot of things to be proud of, whether it's a team, a campaign, culture. What's something that you've built that you're the most proud of?
I would say the culture with the team at Sell Your Mac. And I'm no longer the CEO anymore, just to clarify. I'm the Mac man now. But I was able to keep, basically everyone on the team through the transition when OWC bought us. And there's only been 2 people that have left out of 22. So very impressive that everyone stayed. They still like the culture that we built. And, they have a lot of autonomy and they're getting things done and they're playing with Apple devices. So a lot of fun stuff going on there. But that was something that was super, super focused for me. It was building that culture, getting out of the office, doing things with the team members. Some people would say, don't make it so like friends and family type environment, but it worked for me. And, there's obviously some downfalls to that. Maybe it's harder to let someone go or something if they're underperforming because you built so much rapport and relationship with them. But at the same time, they got your back. They're there for you and they help you through those tough times. And that's been really key to our growth over the years.
Awesome.
So your story about having your team work in your basement and then getting kicked out is kind of like how Steve and Steve started in the garage.
In the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, that's amazing. So walk me through this, right? You had, like you said, 22 people, within the company get retained as the acquisition happened with the business. But how did you get to that level of finding people and duplicating yourself? Like, you're at dinner with your spouse doing customer service texts, right? Getting 100% satisfaction rate. But then you have to leverage, you have to delegate, you have to build a team, start to duplicate yourself. So with wearing all those hats in the beginning, how do you start delegating and finding people that, again, talking about trust, that could come into your business, that can do it just as good, if not better than you can, so you can have that same recognition that you had when you were doing it all yourself?
Well, I think you can't duplicate yourself. And that was something I had to come to terms with. I do want things done so good, but at some point, that 90% is definitely good enough. So I think you find the right person that can, do the job 80% as good as you can, and then, train them to get a little bit better as they go. But being okay with things not being done exactly the way that you wanted to do it is key, because you have your own way to do something, and the next person, maybe they can do it just as good, but they're going to do it a little bit differently. And, my hiring strategy was a lot around the culture. It was, hey, let's have this fun, small business family environment. It's going to be laid back. I am not a stickler about time, very flexible for any family needs, anything like that. And I think that flexibility was one of the big things I had in retaining people. I actually got two of my best employees that came from the Apple store. They were geniuses there. And, Apple basically told them they couldn't leave to go on a trip that was like meaningful. One was the guy had lost his grandmother in Brazil and was going to fly down to her funeral. And they said no. And he was like, well, I'm leaving. So too bad. And they fired him for that. And then it's like, man, have a heart. So I think that, I say my heart bleeds blue. I always have a heart, for my team. And so many ways I went just above and beyond when people couldn't afford a procedure or something that was like going to like change their life. And I was, fortunate enough that I could make it happen for them. And I did it.
That's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. I mean, you're a leader from the front, and that's why we're happy that you're here. Let's talk AI for a moment, because you are an AI expert also, and it's becoming ingrained in every part of our life, right? I think it's that the number one used word in this.
I love AI.
I know. With the
And
rise of
investing in it.
AI and automation and digital transformation, if you will, what's one hard thing that entrepreneurs and even tech leaders need to lean in on right now?
I don't think enough people are using it to the extent or even trying. And I like to have the mentality that I'm going to use AI first. So, how can I use AI in this next thing I'm going to do today, tomorrow, instead of like, thinking about it later? It's like, I'm going to step in right away and not necessarily automate, but augment. It's like, how do I just get better and a little bit faster? So I'm not trying to have AI answer all my emails for me. But if I got a long email, I might copy and paste it and have it summarize it. Apple already does that on their iPhone app. So I'm using those tools to, get better and faster. Using it to do a lot of research for me, help come up with marketing ideas, do planning and stuff like that. So I think just starting with the thinking that we're going to be using AI going forward and just try to implement it. Like if you have a question, like why go to Google these days? I mean, ChatGPT, frankly, is just so much better and it's mostly right. Do fact check things that they're very important before you run off and make some crazy decision with it. But, if you give it the right input, it's going to give you the right output. And so you have to be specific enough that it's going to have the context to, know about you and get things done. And with the new memory features inside ChatGPT, which is my go-to tool, it knows so much about me that I don't need to like tell it again that I'm Brian the Mac Man or, about my different businesses and stuff. It already gets all that and it can help me, make the right decisions based upon what it knows about me. And it knows freakishly too much. Have you tried the trick on it of like, hey, tell me about me? And, you're like, oh my God, how does it remember the stuff I told it, a year ago? It's intense, but I love it.
Well, you don't stop learning, and I'm sure everyone around you really appreciates that. How do you stay sharp across all these interests that you have, and how does curiosity really feed your business?
I can't stop thinking about the next thing that I'm gonna do. I mean, it's literally it feels like if I get a bored moment, it's like, what's the next certification that I'm gonna go get? And every year I basically challenge myself to do something. So last year I got my merchant mariner credentials, which means I can go captain a boat or I could go serve with the Navy in time of war, which I don't plan on doing. But it's it took a lot of work to get that certification done. And this year, I bought and sold some Airbnb properties over the years, and I've never had a realtor license. So I've always, paid for that. And I was like, why don't I just get my realtor license? So I just finished studying the realtor course to become a realtor so I can do some more work with that in my investment properties. And it's really fun to learn and it engages your brain to grow and it thinks about so many new things. I mean, I learned about something in one space, I can apply it to my business in the other. So I think there's so much crossover and you can put things together when you're having conversations, with people and having that wide breadth of knowledge, I find to be so helpful and makes people like want to work with me. So, I can talk about so many different things, whether it's at a, a business meeting or a dinner party that, I'm more fun to be around and I can bring more to the table.
Okay. You have 3 kids, correct?
I do, yeah. 8, 5, and 3.
So you have 3 kids. You just became a captain of a boat during war. You just got your real estate license. Hold on, I just got started. You're an ordained minister. you scuba diver, so you're a certified scuba diver. You're a sommelier, which I know how difficult that is. TED Talk speaker, built an 8-figure business. Uh, and that's just scratching the surface. I email you, you respond within 24 hours.
I'm on it.
So my question is let's put all of that accomplishments aside. How do you do it personally? Like let's get personal for a second. What are you doing each and every day personally to be able to sustain? Because we know we know you love to learn. We know you're intrigued with everything that's out there. We know you're a master of many things, but how do you set the personal lifestyle up to be able to execute that without going, gray hair or pulling all your hair out, right? Like how do you do it with such a positive attitude? It's very unique.
I appreciate that. I spend a couple hours a day, reading and learning. And I love reading about stocks. That's probably my number one thing. I mean, I love learning about these tech companies. And, with that, I'm able to, invest for myself. And I give some advice on the podcast I have, Bullish and Beyond. But it's really setting that time. I mean, if you don't think you have time, you do. You just have to work smarter. So if it's someone trying to grow their business, maybe they need to hire an SDR from Alley-Oop so they can focus more on themselves. So it's like, what do you have that you can, delegate? We talked about that earlier. I can delegate, some things on my plate, but the Mac deals, I own the Mac deals. So I'm going to get those done and crush it. But maybe I don't need to work, 9 to 5 to do that. I can chunk it and be super effective, as I go. And then I have a little bit more time to think about, what I'm going to do for the, helping my brain continue to learn and grow. And also taking those breaks, I think helps me refocus. For instance, if I take a lunch break and go swimming and then come back, my brain is much more adapted and ready to start, doing that next thing, pounding out some more emails, making some more calls. So I don't think enough businesses give breaks in the right way. And it's really hard if you're at an office, I get it, but having just a break to go walking, for instance. Back when I was running Sell Your Mac, we had 2 walking breaks per day for 15 minutes. And, besides lunch, so like, before lunch and after lunch, go for a walk for 15 minutes around the block a couple times. And it really helps you get back to work once you're there. So instead of having someone be so unfocused for half the time, they're thinking about texting, their partner or checking their Facebook, whatever it might be, just give them the break so they can do it and then tell them that they're expected to refocus when they get back. And I think having that is super crucial. So I can't sit down and work for 8 hours straight, but I like to work really hard when I am working. So I will just hyper focus for a few hours at a time and then come up for air from there and then go learn something else after that.
I love it. Okay, let's talk about giving back. You are really passionate about gifting Apple devices to underprivileged students, and I think it's incredible. What does that? How is that personal to you, and what impact have you seen firsthand from doing that?
I need to do more. Frankly, I have not done enough recently. So this is a call to action for myself to do more of it. The reason I'm so passionate about it is because I always had the devices that I needed growing up. I got my first Apple computer around the age of 10, and I've never had a want for a computer. I've always had it available to me. My parents bought me a computer to go off to college and stuff like that. But for people that didn't have that computer and hearing their stories of them having to trudge to the library in the cold or the snow to write a paper, and they have no access to the internet to learn on a continuous basis, that really bothers me that they don't have that opportunity. So that was my main motivation, is to get them the device to have them be able to learn and access technology, wherever they are. And I went through, I tried a number of different ways about how I was going to do the gifting. And ultimately I wanted to go to the, most deserving people that really like, I can't give a Mac to everyone. So if this person is, doing really well in school and they need the technology, that was kind of the fit for me. So I worked with a couple like local organizations in Cincinnati when I lived there that, had a group of, rising star students that needed the technology. And, I'm still connected with a lot of them as, friends on Facebook and stuff. And, they were able to do so much more by having that. So it's so meaningful to give them the technology and then see how they're a success, in their next endeavor. And typically it was like when they're leaving from high school to go to college, that transition was, super crucial. So that was the time when I would make most of those gifts.
That's a great story, and I'm sure they really appreciate it. And I know both of you love Apple. I use all Apple products. I would love to know what both of your favorite Apple products are of all time and why.
Gabe, you go first.
No, you go first.
I have to go with the iPhone. I mean, I am on my phone constantly. It'd be so hard to give that up. And, it's nice to have a bigger screen on my Mac, but at the same time, having that technology in my pocket constantly. I mean, I can't even imagine how many times I talk to ChatGPT every day. Hopefully Siri levels up and gets smart here soon. She had a little bit of a flop on her AI intelligence update, but we're having the WWDC conference here in 2 weeks. Hopefully we hear some new stuff about the Siri kit that hopefully is coming out to help other apps. But yeah, I love my iPhone, and it's really hard to leave without it. If I do put it down though, it does feel good once in a while to get away from it because it's a distraction. You're picking it up and checking things, so often compared to the Mac. It's easier to kind of leave it and not be as distracted. But yeah, I love the iPhone. All right, Gabe, what do you got?
I mean, you stole mine because it's so a part of our life. But it's funny. I was talking about your first Mac. I had an Apple IIe. That was my first Mac, and
How old?
oh my God, 9, 10. So
Yep.
same or the same time. And yeah, I mean, I've always been Mac. My aunt got me introduced to Mac. She was in charge of all the school computers at her school, and they were always a Mac school. And my daughter
Nice.
school too. And I would have to say the iPad. I mean, when the iPad came out, it's interesting. Everyone's like, "What the heck is this?" And they tried it a few times, right? There's a lot of opportunities where they tried to do a Surface or a
They had a Newton back in the day that did not sell well.
exactly.
It's all about timing.
Right. It was all about timing. And so like I'm looking right down at my iPad and my iPhone's here. I'm running a Mac Mini. Our whole house is completely Mac. Our whole house is all smart house and everything's Apple. So yeah, I would say my iPad is my go-to. I never leave home without it, and it's great. It's great. It's just the interface is awesome. So yeah, I think
I know you're excited for that M4 iPad when it came out. We talked about it for a while.
I
Like,
know, I
the
was
team was
so
gunning
excited.
for
I'm
its
like,
own.
when are they gonna put the camera in the middle of it like they're supposed to?
Oh,
But
night
yeah,
and day. Well, I actually take calls, video calls on my iPad now, and before it was like too awkward. I mean, I'm like in
right.
portrait mode, and
Yep,
game
absolutely.
changer.
But I do love these bad boys. I know it's more of an accessory, but these things
Oh yeah,
incredible. The active noise canceling,
I
kind of
actually don't have
for
those.
me. Oh, really?
No, I just I got the AirPod
Yeah.
Pros, but
Yeah, but that's my most recent. It's been great for, doing just audio work and just getting focused and just kind of getting
okay.
centered or meditation. It's been really good. I love that
Does
product.
it squish that good-looking hair of yours though?
Yep, it does, but that's okay.
It bounces back. All right.
So let's talk about who are the people you want to talk to, right? Who is your audience right now and how do they get a hold of you?
I want to talk to people that have a lot of Apple products. They want to trade them in and get the latest technology. So I want to help them upgrade the latest stuff by giving an insane value back on their Apple gear. And I want to make it, fast and easy by working directly with me. I'll give them the blue glove service and make it fun. So those people can hit me up, whether it's on LinkedIn or they want to reach out to me on email, brian@sellyourmac.com. If they find me on LinkedIn, I got the blue bow tie. So I'm super easy to find across all my social media handles.
Well, thank you so much. You've been amazing. This has been so much fun. Really excited, especially about those LinkedIn tips, and can't wait to get this show.
Oh, I love the help. Anything you need, let me know.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.